Welcome to UFC's Inside The Octagon. John Gooden alongside Dan Hardy, delighted to have you with us. So the UFC returns to the iconic Madison Square Garden for a title fight triple header. In the main event, Michael Bisping welcomes back George St-Pierre, but today is all about the other two title fights. Joanna looks to try and make it 6 straight title defences against Rose Namajunas. And a bitter feud will be settled as bantamweight champion Cody Garbrandt takes on former teammate TJ Dillashaw.
TJ, he was an old teammate. The way TJ left Team Alpha Male was just straight sellout.
You know, I trained a lot with him. I thought we were cool. Now he wants to hate me.
I was glad it was over. I've been open and sewn up. Just raise my head high, then I strike like a ghost. Oh, you see.
These guys definitely do not like each other.
I want my belt back. TJ Dillashaw, come try me.
So, Dan, it kind of coughed and spluttered a little bit, and we didn't have this fight exactly when it was scheduled, but boy, we have seen even more build-up. They don't like one another.
No, they don't. And I kind of like the fact that it was delayed a bit because it's been simmering for a little longer. And, you know, there's so much emotion going into this that a little bit of added rivalry in there, you know, with the delay.
Yeah,
I think it just adds to the spice. It's beautiful.
OK, well, let's set it up like we do with the facts and the stats. The champion and the challenger. So what are we looking at here, Dan? Let's have a look at some of these and see if you think there's anything in the physicality and the ages.
Well, interestingly, Garbrandt is the one that's 2 inches taller than Dillashaw, but Dillashaw's the one that has 2 inches reach. So that kind of nullifies itself. The age, again, 5 years between them, but it's the records. Obviously, Cody Garbrandt unbeaten at 11-0, but Dillashaw with the experience, even though he's got a few losses on his record. But the stats, this is where it gets really interesting.
I like that one.
Yeah, I like that one. Look at that. 100% takedown defence, which is interesting as well when you look at this one. 3rd most takedowns in bantamweight history. And if you think of all the bantamweights that we've had in the UFC, so many wrestling-heavy offences, that's a pretty impressive stat. But whether he can get Garbrandt down to the floor or not is another thing. And that's where this comes into play. The most submission attempts in bantamweight history as well. If you can't ground the fighter, there are very few submissions you can get standing. Yeah. So that's going to be a big task for him.
There are certain fights where you want to see them stay on the feet. But actually thinking about it, the takedowns of TJ Dillashaw and the kind of movement patterns that we're seeing, I kind of want to see that wrestling and how that prevails as well.
Oh, for sure. I want to see all of it with these two because they're both so technically gifted and both so, I mean, you know, from the same school of thought. That really plays into this as well. So, yeah.
Well, let's talk about that then.
Okay.
Same school of thought, both coming from Team Alpha Male, but how are they now different?
Well, initially, their differences were that Cody Garbrandt's a boxer that came to mixed martial arts. He's got loads and loads of boxing experience from, you know, training with his family members. I think it was quite a family activity when he was a kid coming up. So
nice.
So he's got lots and lots of boxing experience, and you can see that in the way that he picks his opportunities and picks his moments and knows how to set people up, and also how comfortable he is in there in the striking range.
I'm thinking of Christmases at the Garbrandts now.
Well, we have Boxing Day in the UK, so
Boxing Day, exactly.
Then maybe they need that in the US as well now. And then TJ Dillashaw is a very strong, you know, Division I wrestler who brought a strong wrestling skill set to Team Alpha Male and then developed his skill around it. And what was interesting is that the reason Uriah Faber brought him in and scouted him was because of his wrestling credentials.
Okay.
So you've got a guy who's a really strong wrestler that's learnt striking, a really strong striker that's learnt the rest of the mixed martial arts game. So they are at opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to their approach.
Right.
But their coaching has been the same up to a point, which is what makes this quite interesting for me.
OK, well, let's take a look.
OK. So let's start with Cody Garbrandt. Now, the things that have got him up to the title are the things that are going to continue winning these fights in the future. His power punching, and it's specifically his right hand. And a lot of the time you see people, they really wind up with these shots. But what Garbrandt does is he sprints forward to set up at that tight right hand. He throws it very, very short. Now, this is really nice. Let's just go back to that because it's interesting. It's worth noting what he did here. So he sees his opponent throw the low kick. So you can see him pull his leg away. That's the first thing we notice. So we're going forward. Like, he reads these opportunities. So here we go. So his opponent throws out a low kick. He just pulls his leg away, recognises his opportunity.
OK.
That's his first one.
Yeah.
So reading his opponent, seeing his chances to put that right hand on their chin.
Building his knowledge.
Exactly.
Inside the fight.
It happens again here. You can see him, he just looks for the range, and you can see him measuring it, and then this happens. He throws it, and he comes straight over the top, three-punch combination, very much a Tyron Woodley sprint forward, 2-1, and then the 2.
Same after effect as well.
Exactly, yeah. Guys fall into the canvas unconscious. One thing that I will say about his right hand in comparison, though, is how much tighter it is when he throws it. He adjusts his feet. You can see it there. Now, he throws it a couple of times against Thomas Almeida, but the second time that he does it is really where he has the most effect. The difference between Garbrandt and Dillashaw a lot of the time, though, is that Dillashaw is very much on his toes and moving as he's striking, whereas although Garbrandt's got good footwork, he does set himself. And watch this. You see how he steps himself into range with his right hand on his chin. It's like he's pitching a fastball. Looks for the opportunity. So all of his other punches are quite wide, but when he throws that knockout shot, it stays very tight to his body. It stays very close to his chin, so it's difficult to tell the angle in which it's coming and the direction which it's going, the target which it's aiming for. You can see here, as Thomas Almeida gets backed up against the fence, the wide left hook really is just to keep his hands up. That's all that's for. And he's looking for that target. He's spotting the target through the guard. He sees the arm come out to the side. He sees the chin through the gap. And that's all he's waiting for. He's looking for that window of opportunity where he can fire that right hand. And look how tight it is to him. Like, there's no wind up there at all. Really powerful, right on the chin. And it's so close. There's a 90-degree angle in his arm as well, so he's able to push off his back leg and twist his entire body power into it.
Is that like orthodox boxing, Dan? Like Western boxing when you have your elbows tight to yourself?
Yes.
And it's just on the rail, out and back.
Yeah. I tell you, one good example of different ways of throwing the rear hand is Darren Till against Cowboy in Gdansk. You watched him in that final sequence, he threw a hook, an uppercut and a straight.
Right.
So mixing the ways up in which you throw it. But Garbrandt swarms people, but then the finishing punch comes very tight on the inside. We see it again here against Mizugaki, and what was nice about this as well is that when he landed that knockout shot, there were 4 other punches that followed and all 4 of them landed. They were perfectly placed. So you'll see the first one, we'll see it in the replay. Really nice work. Again, though, it's the short right hand that does the job. Here it is. Bang! Look how short that is. But then look at this. Mizugaki moves in, he gets caught with an uppercut, and then 2 more. Chin, temple, and then the hammer fist just to finish off. Again, though, the shortness of that right hand is really what TJ Dillashaw's got to be watching out for, because you see how he lunges forward, he leans heavy on that lead leg. He fights face first, and a lot of the time when he's covering distance, he covers distance face first as well, which means that Garbrandt's going to be looking to catch him with that. He's confident to stand his ground and meet Dillashaw as he's coming in. Yeah. So that weapon is going to be chambered all the way through the fight.
One big chapter in this story, we've seen the rivalry between TJ and Cody. Dominic Cruz. Yeah. Dominic Cruz and his association with Team Alpha Male and how it's affected, obviously, TJ Dillashaw and him challenging for the belt. Garbrandt was sensational in this. And let's take a look at it because it has been a factor, hasn't it? It has. It's been emotional for them.
Yes, it has. I mean, you know, he is a rival of the whole team. So he, in effect, has united this team against one common enemy, which, you know, and they've all worked towards it. You know, Garbrandt, Uriah Faber and Dillashaw have all fought Cruz. You know, Faber won the first one a long time ago, but then, you know, he failed the second 2 times, and then Dillashaw tried again and failed as well. But the difference is Garbrandt had the opportunity to sit outside the octagon and watch it firsthand, knowing 2 fighters very, very well and seeing how they fall short against Dominic Cruz. Right. Being able to make adjustments and tweaks. Now, I'm not saying if the roles were reversed and Garbrandt fought Cruz first that Dillashaw would have taken those lessons, but it's possible. Okay. I mean, I think there is an advantage from watching your teammates fight somebody and then going in there and trying to better their performance. And the difference between the two as well is that for me, it felt almost like, and there was a lot of talk, there was a lot of talk going into this fight about how Dillashaw was the new version of Dominic Cruz. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of backfired on him a little bit because it seemed like he was trying to force the footwork too much. Right. He was trying to out-Cruz Dominic Cruz, which you're never going to do. The difference with Garbrandt, and this is a great clip to demonstrate it, is he's confident to stand his ground. So you can see Dominic Cruz doing the typical switching the feet, changing his stance, moving laterally, like sweeping at his opponent. And you can see Garbrandt moving backwards as it's happening. He's waiting for the opportunity, but the difference is, in an opportunity like that where Dillashaw would be moving around and trying to land at the same time as Cruz, Garbrandt is standing his ground and waiting for you to come into range so he can just clock you with that right hand. Yeah. And which he did. Which he did several times, you know. His confidence grows every time he lands it. And then even if he's not catching you on the chin, I mean, look at that beautiful head movement. That's confidence. That's great as well. Yeah, that's confidence and time in the boxing ring, that is. It's just hours and hours of watching people moving towards you and throwing punches. And it's worth noting as well, Dominic Cruz doesn't throw traditional punches from regular angles. Like, you can watch those punches and they're coming out from all different kinds of strange Dominic Cruz angles. And Garbrandt's still able to slip them all very, very confidently with hands down. You know, knowing full well that, you know, the fight was pretty much in the bag at that point.
Yeah.
No need to take a risk. Keep your hands up.
Yeah.
Just shows how confident he is and comfortably, you know, in the strength of his chin as well to take those shots.
Sure. Well, let's take a look at TJ Dillashaw then, and he joined up with Bang Ludwig, which is very much a big part of this story as well.
Yeah.
And with his fight IQ and what he's made out of this student, that superior movement that we've seen, which, yes, he had the blueprint of Dominic Cruz, but he's added various other tools as well to Dillashaw's game.
He has. You know, Duane Ludwig is one of the best strikers that we've had in mixed martial arts, and I think that his understanding of the striking game and the evolution of his thought process, which he's now passing on to his younger fighters, is far ahead of where he was when he was competing. Right. And I think you'd be happy with me saying that, because the guys that he's putting out now are far more technically gifted and slicker in their footwork and the way they move. And their ability to switch stance as well is something that's become a signature of Ludwig. So obviously when they brought him into the alpha male camp, he was perfect to kind of bolt onto the side of their strong wrestling game. But then when he left, the relationship that he'd developed with TJ Dillashaw, predominantly down to this performance, in my opinion, you know, them winning the world title together was huge. So Dillashaw decided to make a move over, and now he's kind of got to justify that by going back and fighting one of his teammates. This is one thing I want to point out in this. Now, this is something I talk about all the time. If you're a boxer, which Cody Garbrandt was before he got into mixed martial arts, you kind of get set in a particular stance. Oh, you're orthodox, you're southpaw, whatever it is. With wrestling, there's a lot less emphasis on the particular stance that you fight in. So you can see Dillashaw is far more comfortable switching stances and working from both sides. Very, very ambidextrous in his approach.
Right.
Garbrandt less so, but a little more. He's learnt that from the alpha male guys, whereas I feel like Dillashaw was able to grasp that much better.
Right.
But this is the advantage, and I talk about switching stance all the time as the new evolution, the new level of striking. And this is why, because, so watch TJ Dillashaw here. So he's in an orthodox stance. Simple striking, 1-2. Switches his stance, 1-2. There was just no opportunity for Barao to adjust to the stance change, to know what's coming next, especially because he's taking shots at the same time.
Yeah.
So there's a little disorientation there. And the thing that I love about TJ Dillashaw is when he feels like his opponent's hurt, he's confident to stand in the pocket and just start trading. That, I think, becomes dangerous with Cody Garbrandt. And I think his benefit in this one is his footwork and his ability to mix up his level change and his takedowns and those kind of things. This, though, again, supports his stance switching. We were just talking about this earlier, John. A beautiful combination. And I want to point out how educated he is in the striking. Again, you know, the Duane Ludwig background, setting up his opportunities, opening windows. So look at this, he goes for a slap to the head to bring up Soto's hands to open up that body shot to the ribs. From that, then he progresses, comfortably switching stances as he's throwing. And had he not switched stance there, that kick would have been out of range.
Right.
Soto would have been able to circle off the fence and get out of the way.
Not even if it was skipped.
Even if it had skipped, he wouldn't have covered the same distance as he did with a big step forward to line up that head kick.
Yeah, with the power as well.
You know,
Gives him that
again,
power.
it's that adjusting to guys as they're moving forward and switching stance at the same time. We see Tony Ferguson, again, is another guy. Switches stance and moves across in front of you. So you're not only worried about where his feet are going, but you're wondering about all the other strikes that are coming in your direction.
And I guess it shuts the octagon down, which is way harder to shut down than a ring.
Yeah.
But out here, that stance switch is just shutting doors everywhere because they've got power coming everywhere.
Without a doubt. You know, I see it very few times in boxing where somebody will work an opponent into the corner and then as their opponent circles out, they'll roll into a southpaw stance and continue their combination.
Right.
But then generally they'll just switch straight back to their stance. It seems to be a very temporary switch.
OK.
Dillashaw can function quite comfortably from both stances. More comfortable in a southpaw stance, clearly, because when we see him really unload on his opponents, predominantly he's standing in a southpaw position.
OK.
But again, that feeling of comfortability in switching his stances, it just keeps people on the back foot all the time because they can't keep up. I mean, you've got to think how dominant a champion Barao was until Dillashaw stepped up and just blasted him out of the water.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an underdog going into this.
Oh, huge
not this
underdog.
one. This is the rematch.
Yeah.
I mean, this was
When he got the belt.
Yeah. This was just a beautiful performance, and you can see Barao taking 4 or 5 shots and then swinging one big looping shot back. And against Sun Tzu, it was the speed and precision of his shot. So this is after he'd lost the belt, after he was now trying to make some adjustments. This is the Dillashaw that's chasing his belt. He wants his belt back. So he's fighting concise. He's fighting very strategic against one of the highest level guys in the division.
Yeah.
And it was a really nice performance. Pinpoint accurate striking, switching his stance, looking for those individual opportunities, and that beautiful moves the leg back. From the inside low kick, he switches his stance as the kick comes in, he switches and then steps straight forward with the lead hand. Again, it's that stance switching. It's the next stage of striking for mixed martial arts. Stance will no longer become a thing.
It's not just striking, though, when we consider TJ Dillashaw, because he's coming from a wrestling background, and we saw that when he fought John Lineker.
Yes.
And this could be something that's very useful against the very powerful hands of Cody Garbrandt.
Exactly. I mean, John Lineker, hands of stone. You know, we've talked about him before, the way he carries his hands like they weigh the earth.
Yeah.
You know, like he pitches them like they're kettlebells at people.
Yeah.
So with that fight, Dillashaw thought to himself, I'm not going to stand in the pocket with this guy.
Smart.
There's no point in allowing him into the fight in that way. So we saw a much more of a mixed martial arts approach. Again, good footwork, lateral movement, strafing his opponent, but that beautiful takedown.
So quick.
Hit it 4 times in the fight. Same technique, same takedown again. Look at this. Drops his level. Let's watch it slow. One thing that's worth noticing as well, and this is where being a teammate of somebody and spending hours on the mat with them is an advantage, because you see tells. Just like when you're playing poker with somebody, you learn to read people's faces and stuff. I don't know why, but before he does this takedown, he always touches his forehead. It's a consistent thing, so that may be something that Garbrandt's going to be looking for before he goes to that takedown. He does that.
Well, if he's not, he is now, Dan. Thanks to you.
But it's interesting to find these things and to see how consistent it is in somebody's game, and if they manage to take it out at some point. But he does that, and then he drops really low and hooks the lead leg.
That's so
really nice. Look at that. Look how low he is as well.
Yeah.
Drives, covers the leg straight away, so he doesn't allow Lineker to get his guard back. Keeps his legs together. Really nice work. But like I said, he hit that takedown 4 times in this fight. This is not the same takedown. That's a different version.
Maybe
of
the
same
lights
one.
were really bright in the arena, and he was looking for that waist-tight kind of vision.
He's just very, very slick in his movement and his ability to penetrate at perfect timing. The next takedown that comes up is really the one that stands out for me as well. And if he is able to get Garbrandt on the floor, it's going to be difficult to keep him there, but his ground and pound floating around the top is very good. But look at this. That is amazing. And the reason that this stands out to me is because we've just been talking about Garbrandt and that rush forward.
Yes.
And the vulnerability in that. The benefit is that because you're ramping your body, you're gaining momentum as you're moving forward. The problem is that once you've got momentum on your side, you can't stop.
Right.
So as he's travelling forward, if he sees Dillashaw disappear underneath him for a level change, pulling all that energy back is going to be extremely difficult for him. And Dillashaw, look at this timing. So the level change is beautiful, but one thing that is really nice is as he impacts, he takes Lineker off his feet.
Wow.
He's not even got his hands around him yet. That is purely the impact of the shoulder. And then you can see perfect technique driving off this front leg. Really nice technique, and then drives his head up so he can avoid that guillotine attempt. Look at that. Really nice work. I mean, that's the thing that Garbrandt has to know about Dillashaw, is that he has excellent timing. For the hours and hours that these guys have spent on the mat, helping each other, talking to each other about technique, sharing things, sharing ideas about mixed martial arts, the one thing that will stand out is Dillashaw knows that Garbrandt hits like a truck, and Garbrandt knows that Dillashaw has got excellent timing.
OK, can't wait for it. But we have another title fight. We've got 2, but the one that we're going to talk about right now features Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She is looking for her 6th title defence, which will tie Ronda Rousey, and she faces off with Rose Namajunas.
Joanna Jędrzejczyk, she's lethal, precise, but Namajunas is wild and extremely unpredictable. The most dangerous opponent she could possibly face.
It is all the ingredients
For mayhem.
I love this fight, Dan. I mean, you see Joanna, who's looking to really build on her legacy. But Rose, for me, is someone that can pose so many problems inside the octagon. I've said it for a little while now. I think she is the biggest threat right now to that strap.
Yeah.
So what can we take from the facts and stats?
Well, similar to the co-main event, a 5-year age difference. It's the age and experience on the side of the champion this side as opposed to the challenger. But 14-0, I mean, The thing that we've seen with Joanna is every time she's got in there, she's been consistently just dismantling people. You know,
Yeah.
she's not been troubled a great deal apart from maybe the Claudia Gadelha fight in the first couple of rounds. She's an unbelievable champion.
And she's beaten everyone now.
Everybody. Yeah, this is it. I mean, you know, Rosie's the next logical contender. I think this is a really interesting fight. Yeah, I know. So there are a lot of interesting stats here. Highest takedown accuracy in women's strawweight history, 80%. Now, that's interesting because of the second highest takedown defence in women's strawweight history, 81.6% is amazing. And the other thing that we know about Joanna is, you know, of the 18.4 times that she was taken down, she got straight back to her feet. It's very difficult to hold her down, you know, and when you do take her down, she punishes you for everything that you do.
Yeah.
Nasty little elbows, and she's good at driving people's faces away and cross-facing and making it uncomfortable, you know what I mean? That is, I think, something that Rose has maybe not encountered as much as she will in this fight.
OK, well, let's take a look at the champion. And for me, she's faced pretty much every kind of opponent, but she's dealt with them the same way.
Well, this is where it's different between the two fighters, because you've got one fighter that comes in from a Thai boxing background that has built her style to support what she was already very, very good at. Obviously striking. Now she's moved to American Top Team, and they're a very strategic camp in the way that not only they prepare their fighters, but the way that they communicate the game plans as well to their fighters, they prepare for people. Now, as we've seen the way that Joanna fights, she's a very disciplined striker, but a high-volume striker. And a lot of the time she'll throw several different strikes, and there'll be one disguised in amongst the chaos that catches you clean and hurts you. Beautiful work there. A 3-4 punch combination flurry into Valerie Letourneau to set up the low kick chop right to the front of the quad. And, you know, her kicking is amazing. Her ability to push people back, pinpoint accurate striking, beautiful, you know, foot to the face.
Heel to the face as well.
And that's not only does that, you know, not only does that take you by surprise, it comes out of nowhere, but it annoys you, it riles you up, it makes you want to attack. And then you move forward and you start walking onto these elbows that she uses. And this is what I was talking about with the flurry of strikes. You see a wild flurry of strikes, and then she'll hide one in the middle. We saw it in the Carla Esparza fight the best. That's the best example, where every time Carla Esparza shot, she just flattened her out, ironed her into the canvas, and then started to smash her with elbows. But the finish of this one was backing Carla Esparza up. Now she's fatigued. Now she's shooting out of panic, because she knows that she's only got one option to win this fight, which is closing the distance and getting it down pretty quickly. And every time she tries that, she's elbowed and punished for it. So then she's backed up against the fence. She's running out of gas because of that anxiety and that nervousness. And then Joanna just unleashes a barrage of punches at her, which forced the referee to step in. And look at this. See, there's that flurry. There's like 4 or 5 shots that really are just a smoke screen for that one power shot that sneaks through the middle. I've used the example before, but it's the Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz thing. You know, Tito using the crazy monkey defense against the fence, and Chuck Liddell opening his guard up with hooks to creep one straight through the middle. She's a very, very intelligent fighter, and because she's got that mean streak as well, she sees opportunities to use things that a lot of people don't. You know, when she sprawls out against Carla Esparza and she's smashing her with those elbows in the side of the face, all of a sudden you start seeing people in other weight classes, in other, you know, and other organisations using it as well.
Right.
You know, she's feeding the zeitgeist of mixed martial arts. She's influencing the bigger picture, and that just shows you how important she is to this division.
She's got like a 200-pound hip.
Hasn't
she?
Exactly.
And she
just
slams it
well.
down.
Yeah.
Last time we saw her was against Jessica Andrade. She was very, very heavy-handed. I mean, I thought it could go badly for her at any time.
Yeah.
But she dealt with that fight just beautifully.
Well, see, that, again, was a good opportunity to see her know where her strengths are in the fight and know where her opponent's strengths are.
Sorry, Dan.
I know,
Look
beautiful
at that
stare down. She has the best stare downs in the sport, I think. But, like, her discipline going into this fight, knowing that Andrade is quite a chaotic, powerful fighter, coming down 2 weight classes, which, might I add, you wouldn't believe looking at the 2 of them. I mean, Joanna's huge for this weight class and got even bigger since she's brought on a nutritionist as well and really put on some muscle mass. She looks much healthier than she ever has done. And even when she is picked up, that scramble back to the feet, I mean, that was a huge effort for Jessica Andrade to pick her up and carry her, to get nothing out of it on the other end. And then to be punished for it at the same time is even more discouraging. But it's the lateral movement that set her aside in this fight. Look at that. Her ability to flick kicks up and catch you in the chin, even if it doesn't knock you out. You know, even if it doesn't knock you out, it sets something else up. It disorientates you as you're moving forward. She's excellent at managing distance, managing range, and catching people. As soon as they step into her striking range, she knows which tools she can use to hit them. And again, the scrambling ability. Now you're back on the feet. Now you have to face her in a kickboxing range. She's not trying to adapt her game to take people down and beat them up on the floor. She's not trying to work submissions or anything like that. She's a kickboxer. She likes to beat people up, and she's going to force you to face her in that range, which is why she's so successful, because she's not tried to broaden her skill set too much. She's been very focused on what she's good at, and she's stuck to it.
Let's take a look at the challenger then.
OK.
So I said maybe 18 months ago that I wanted to see this fight with Namajunas because I think she's so well-rounded. She's got a real MMA game. But what are her best chances of overcoming the champion?
Mixing it up.
Right.
Exactly like you said, she is a very good mixed martial artist. And it's interesting because, there's a 5-year difference between the two. If I look down the top 10, the top 15 even, the other people that stand out in that weight class that are as well-rounded as Rose are people like Cynthia Calvillo, young, up-and-coming fighters that are taking to mixed martial art. Even Paige, you know what I mean? A mixed martial artist, striking and grappling and learning the whole game as she goes along. Rose is doing the same thing, and she's doing it with great effect. But the one thing that we see consistently in her game is her ability to take people's backs and choke them out. Yeah. She's got the most finishes in strawweight history with 3. All 3 are rear naked chokes. Right. And you can see this one against Angela Hill. She's really good at moving in and out of range, and when she covers that distance, she throws a flurry of punches and then takes the fight to the floor with a whole different selection of techniques. I mean, she's a very decorated martial artist. 2 black belts and a brown belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu she's got. And then she jumps on the back, and once she's clamped in, look how she locks it in with her chin. Like there is no break in that. Yeah. That is
There's nothing to pull on there.
There's nothing to, unless you start grabbing the gloves, which obviously you're going to be warned for then. So she's very good at removing all the escape routes. And that's something that Paige Van Zandt learned as well. Even with this, the knee on belly, I love this. We don't see it very often in mixed martial arts because it's difficult a lot of the time to control people there. But what I've realised researching Rose is that she's really not trying to control people on the floor. What she's trying to do is just float across the top. This is a great example. Watch this. So she's in a mount position here, and she's almost in the mount position. You can see her sliding the knee over as she's ground and pounding. But you can see Paige rolling to escape. But at the same time as throwing strikes, this foot comes down here, look. Now that's prepped, ready, because she knows that as soon as Paige rolls over, that hook is already in. She's already taken the back. So as she progresses across the top, she's then taken the back, and then she can start to threaten the rear naked choke immediately. But she does it all the while with striking. It's that ability to stay on top which is really going to be a benefit to Joanna because she is so good at scrambling back to her feet. Striking from behind, taking the back of Joanna are all things that she can't face. She can't strike you. She can't face you and strike you if you're on her back. She's always playing catch-up if you're behind her, which is where I think Rose finds her way into this fight. Creating that chaotic scramble, using her mixed martial arts game. Again, against Michelle Waterson, a great striker, beautiful head kick. She swarms her on the floor. She lands some really good ground and pound to keep her disorientated, to keep that dazed feeling, that head full of water feeling.
It's horrible to watch.
It's a beautifully placed and timed strike, though. She knows where to apply these techniques. She's learning on the go. Every time we see her, she looks better. And she's got mean elbows in ground and pound as well. Possibly the only person in the division that can rival Joanna with that intensity and intention in her striking. And then look at this, again, jumps onto the back, the far side hook in. It's locked in. She's not even bothered about really getting the hooks in properly because she knows that she's got that clamped in and she's locked it with her chin. And look at that, you can see she's even gone palm to palm and locked it in with her chin on that one. Beautiful work, really nice squeeze, and 3 rear naked choke finishes. That's definitely the core of her game, much like we see with Gunnar Nelson, that she knows the path to the finish.
Yes.
And she can create the chaos and capitalise on the opportunities to get her there.
In chaos lies opportunity.
There you go, John. I like it.
Yeah, I love it. I really love this matchup. And there's something else about it. I mean, she's going to be ironing out creases. She's improving all the time, as you said. But she's been very open with this, the mental side of the game.
Yes.
Who is showing up fight week? Who's showing up in that locker room? And that really will have a massive bearing on the fight. Is it Thug Rose?
Yeah, if she gets in there with that intensity and with this attitude, look how stone cold she is. I mean, this is thug life at its best because you've got Joanna on the other side, trash talking, telling her that she's going to destroy her. Rose just doesn't even blink, cold. And that, you've got to wonder how that affects a champion who's used to, you know, getting inside opponents' heads. You know, she really makes an effort to stare into their eyes and that kind of thing. Rose stares straight through her. It's a cold look that she's got on her eyes, and I think that gives her a real strong mental game going into this. If she can approach this fight with that confidence, she'll do well.
I think I said at the very top that Joanna has faced every kind of challenge so far, but I think this is the most complete, well-rounded challenge. A mixed martial arts challenge, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, I mean, Claudia Gadelha, it was a very tough test for Joanna both times they fought. But the difference here is that I feel like Rose, she moves faster, she's bigger, she's got a longer reach, and she's a young prospect.
Yeah.
You know, she's 25 years old. Like, we're still seeing improvements in her game very, very quickly between fights. You know, we're seeing that evolution moving on constantly. And with the team that she's got around her, there's a lot of knowledge there that she's picking up on. So she's in a good place.
One final seed that I'm just going to put right here. So Joanna Jędrzejczyk is getting close to tying for the most consecutive defences, but the 125-pound belt is out there as well. So her legacy, she's seeing, could well and truly be cemented in women's mixed martial arts. Well, that wraps us for this episode. Don't forget, we have another episode where we look at Michael Bisping versus GSP. That is the main event for the middleweight title. Thank you very much for watching. Share the conversation using the hashtag Inside The Octagon, and we'll see you next time.
The most iconic venue in all of combat sports.
The world's greatest arena.
Madison Square Garden.
This is how legends are made.
Two of the best strawweights in the world.
No one is taking this belt from me.
Former teammates turned bitter rival.
I want my belt.
TJ Dillashaw, come try me.
George St-Pierre is one of the best mixed martial artists of all time, but you don't get any tougher than the champion, Michael Bisping.
3 title fights at Madison Square Garden.
This is how legends are made.